and I take a little bit more. I think belts. Maybe I should rewind. Belts have value. I think maybe the better question is, do belts have value? And they do. They do have value, because one, I think a basic human emotional need is growth, feeling like you're growing in something, And when people imagine playing a video game where there is no levels. There's no way to build up your armor. There's no next boss to beat. Or you're going to a job and there's a glass ceiling. There's no room for improvement. I think as Napoleon said, men will fight long and hard for a few pieces of colored fabric. And he was, he's probably not the best example of leadership there, because he would just send people off. At one point, I think he said, he's like, you can't beat me. I burn through 25,000 men a month or something. Men were like dollars to him. And but that still plays a part. They still have value in people's heads. Now, there's to play the devil's advocate on the other side is, well, if I'm a white belt wrestler and I come in and I sub your blue belt, or I control and dominate your blue belts, well, then that blue belt holds no weight. That's a different conversation. Do belts properly represent grappling acumen? And so that's a totally different conversation. And I think from there you need to compare apples to apples. If you come in and we've got one of our blue belts, and I'm thinking of not Josh Johnson, Woodcocks, Josh Woodcocks, right? He's like 120 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's in his 40s.
Yeah, and he's in his 40s. He's
late 30s or early 40s.
Yeah, and he's got a little bit of physical restriction, I think. And so you put him up against a 23-year-old D1 wrestler who's a white belt, just put a gi on or whatever. His goal. You could
argue that at that weight, you could put them up against a 20-year-old high school or college wrestler.
Yeah. So, but even I think that question is not based in good faith, because you want to compare wrestlers to jiu-jitsu. It's grappling. You got 4 years of wrestling. You got a lot of grappling under your belt, And I think Faraz Zahabi was, or maybe he was quoting Hajar. A blue belt is someone you can defend yourself against. You can submit a bigger, stronger opponent who's untrained. That's the blue belt definition. I'd probably tend to agree with that.
That's fair.
Someone who's untrained. And Josh would dominate someone who's untrained. It wouldn't even be fair.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be fair. And so I think they hold value, but I don't place huge levels of. They're far more subjective than everyone always wants, an objective goal. It's far more subjective because it has to be by nature. Well, I guess it doesn't have to be. I guess you could have, because if you make it objective, then to make it objective, what do you truly have to put in place? Some form of a test, right? Well, no, it's a test. I don't want it to test me. Okay, well, then it's going to be subjective. Because either the test is going to be so restrictive, then some people just won't be able to do it, due to body type, styles, restrictions, whatever, or age, or it's got to be subjective, which people don't like, because now you're doing it on a case by case basis, and that's the hardest part. It's easy to form a test and then say do these things, but not now. Everyone's just training for that test, which is kind of backwards. And so I think it's a difficult thing. Do they have value? Yeah. But I'm not going to put huge weight into them. I used to get in my head about, if I'm a blue, I can't lose to a white belt. And if I'm a purple, I can't lose to a blue belt. And if it's always this, defending your belt. And now I'm well, how are we doing? Did we bust it up?
We've got 2 comments from John Garner. Would you like me to read them to you?
In one moment. Yeah, I'll get to them in a second. So I think they hold value. I just don't think it's you got to be careful how much weight you put into them. What do you think?
I think if you sign up in martial arts today, everybody knows it's good for you. It's good for your mind, your body, right? And it's good for self-defense. But I think today, if somebody signs up in martial arts, the man today, men or women and children today, they have a different type of physical and emotional posture, and like they're in a different place today than they were like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. They're just naturally a little bit like tougher. They're a little bit more resilient. They're a little bit more
today.
Like no, back 20, 30 years ago. Yeah. So I think that you can't get away from that, and you have to like, they want immediate gratification, and they know it doesn't come, but immediate. But so if you can't give them immediate gratification, there has to be something like measurable or a test, like you said, because we're different people and breed of humans today than we were just like 1 or 2 generations ago.
You know, I'm